Hey YouTubers, this is Jacques Gaines and I'm here to talk to you about the Feiyu AK2000 stabilizer gimbal. So for the last 2 years, I've been using the Zhiyun Crane version 1 stabilizer gimbal. It has been a faithful friend of mine. It has saved my life. It has done just a great job. And it is a pretty good gimbal, but it's not feature rich. It's basically a standard gimbal stabilizer, but it definitely does do the job. So what I wanted was to have a gimbal that had a bit more features and I was able to put heavier cameras on. So in popped this, the Feiyu AK2000 stabilizer gimbal. So I have to admit, so far I've been using it and playing with it a bit, and I think I'm ready for a review to give you guys my first impressions and the performance that the Feiyu AK2000 does in my workflow. Now my workflow is videographer, corporate video, a lot of fashion shoots and stuff like that. So just bear that in mind when you watch my review. So without further ado, let's get into the specs first, and then we'll look at my impressions. What struck me about the Feiyu line of stabilizers was the price to spec ratio. The Feiyu AK2000, bang for the buck, is quite impressive. The Feiyu AK2000 is an active 3-axis stabilization gimbal. It sports an LED touch panel that allows you to quickly toggle between modes such as path settings, camera control, and time-lapse photography. It also has a multifunction button which is user-defined. It can control camera zoom, follow focus, pan and tilt function modes. It has a beveled design, meaning that the camera is angled out from the support arms, allowing one to better see what the camera is seeing through the lens on the LCD screen. Not surprising to this line of gimbals is its ability to connect via Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to control detailed parameters and go even deeper. Other good features that you expect from a far more expensive gimbal are the 1/4 inch thread at the bottom and on the side of the gimbal arm, allowing you to add further accessories to your filming setup. The gimbal also includes a multifunctional USB port compatible with common follow focus systems and can even be used to charge a camera. Isn't that cool? When one compares this gimbal to the higher end models by Feiyu, it becomes quite clear as to what the differences are. Depending on your workflow, budget, and end user, you will in most cases opt for the AK2000. So when I think you're looking at the Feiyu line of arm stabilizers in the AK line for DSLR, I think the most important decision factor in which model you take is weight. Weight, plain and simple. Other things come into play. There are more features on the other higher end products, but not a lot. Therefore, it's up to you to decide. I will leave a link down below to a chart that I have on my website as to the advantages from going from one model to the other. But I'm telling you, to me, weight is probably the biggest factor involved. Therefore, if you use a C300, an FS7, RED camera, those cameras, you'll need to go to the higher models, the 4000 to 4500. You can stay down at the AK2000 and be super happy. There are a lot of features on that gimbal stabilizer, and for $299, you are not missing out. The grip of the gimbal is quite large. Although I'm not used to it, I find it nice to hold. What also struck me is the fantastic rubber finish on the grip handle. I really do like it, and it gives me a feeling of security, a feeling one likes to have when your stand is holding $5,000 worth of equipment. Buttons are extremely solid and well placed and really feel well in the hand. For the times that I have been using it so far, everything is ergonomically and logically placed on the arm. Although I am very familiar with the setup of any gimbal and therefore cannot speak for the beginner, I have to admit that the setup of this gimbal is relatively easy. I personally balanced a Canon EOS 6D Mark II with a relatively heavy 16-35 f2.8L and had no problems at all. I would, however, point anyone to go and scan the QR code on the Quick Start Guide to get a better assessment of how to balance your gimbal. But the online PDFs is very graphic in nature and really spells out the balancing process loud and clear. The quick release plate, along with all the gimbal pivots, are very well machined and have a good feel to them. Once you get to balancing, both the line indicators and the quick tighten screws work well. One criticism I have for the thumb screws is that their longer reach makes for a peculiar balancing experience. Once one reaches the fine-tuning step, it is important to take into account that the thumb screw itself, when twisted in tightening, will unbalance slightly. It is nothing that cannot be anticipated, but I cannot help but think about the first timer trying to balance and not understanding why it is always slightly off. Other than that, once I had a decent balance, I pressed the power button and was using the gimbal right off the bat. So who is this gimbal for is a complicated question. I think that almost every small to medium size filmmaker, short of having a budget for a large size dolly or a qualified Steadicam operator, should have this in their arsenal. It, like all products that offer stabilized footage, offers such a huge step up in video quality that it actually makes no sense to not have one. The Feiyu AK-2000 delivers for all those needing a good quick stabilization for their DSLR. It offered me way smoother footage, easier setup and use than did my Zhiyun Crane. Physically, it is a joy to work with and is nothing less than stunning for the price. It offers just a great feature to price ratio, and for now, leads the market in its class. Now, what I also want to talk about is that there are a couple of modes on this gimbal that make it extremely creative. It has a mode called a lock mode, where you can lock certain parameters and play with the camera. And it can be a lot of fun when you're actually filming something. So you keep everything stabilized, you use that manual button, and you can do some really cool things. In terms of usage and what I use it for in filming, there is no problem. The gimbal handles really great. This line of gimbals covers a whole gamut of workflows that are from semi-professional, amateur, serious, hobbyist, all the way to production house quality. You are going to get a great gimbal. Nice smooth footage. You're going to like it a lot. You guys, don't forget, there's a link below if you want to buy this gimbal or any of the other models. I'll have links in my description to get them. It supports my channel, makes things happen. And what also supports my channel is liking, sharing, subscribing, pressing that thumbs up, and also pressing the bell to make sure you get and stay in cahoots with all the new stuff I have coming out. You guys, thank you very much for watching. And don't forget, keep on making something from nothing.